of activity. We understand that schools are...
Gunfire in the San Bernardino Mountains today. Police believe they've closed in on murder suspect Christopher Dorner. And another officer has died in that manhunt. The story is still unfolding. We'll have the latest. KPBS Evening Edition starts now.
KPBS Evening Edition is made possible by Joan and Irwin Jacobs and by
Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Eric Anderson. Dwayne Brown is off tonight. The search for Christopher Dorner is likely over tonight. A man officials believe to be the former Los Angeles police officer is thought to have held two women hostage for several days in a cabin in Big Bear. He was spotted by authorities when he left that cabin earlier today. KPBS reporter Kyla Calvert brings us the latest from the newsroom. Kyla, what's the situation there now?
Right now, authorities have a man they believe to be Christopher Dorner surrounded in a cabin about 8 miles south of Big Bear. They chased him there after he was spotted in a stolen pickup truck this afternoon, exchanged fire with law enforcement, and fled on foot. But that cabin is now on fire. Fire and rescue crews have arrived, but reporters on the scene say the building is completely engulfed. And while fleeing from the police officers this afternoon, this man matching Dorner's description wounded two San Bernardino sheriff's deputies. The sheriff confirmed in the last hour that one of those deputies has died from those wounds.
Now, do they know how the fire started exactly?
No, it did start after officers shot several rounds of tear gas into the house. It appears they're just going to let the fire burn itself out. There have been several reports of ammunition inside the house exploding in the fire, and it seems that law enforcement now believe that anyone who was in the cabin could not have survived the blaze. KPBS
reporter Kyla Calvert. Dorner is accused of killing 3 people last week, 2 in revenge for his firing from the Los Angeles Police Department. One victim, Monica Kwan, was the daughter of an LAPD captain who represented Dorner in his case. She and her fiancé, Keith Lawrence, were shot to death in Irvine February 3rd. The third victim, Michael Crane, was a Riverside police officer shot in an ambush early last Thursday morning. A capital murder charge has been filed against Dorner in that case. Police say that Dorner published a manifesto on Facebook promising to wage war against the LAPD for his firing. It says, quote, "This is my last resort. The LAPD has suppressed the truth and it has now led to deadly consequences." The LAPD says it is reopening its inquiry into Dorner's firing. Since last Thursday, police have received more than 1,000 tips about Dorner's whereabouts, and there have been a few false alarms, one of those in Tijuana last night. Mexican police raided a hotel there last night but did not find Dorner. Some of the first reports about today's gunfight came via social media, raising concerns from some law enforcement officials. At one point, the San Bernardino County District Attorney sent out a tweet of his own asking reporters to stop tweeting out of concern for the safety of officers on the scene. We will bring you more updates as they become available during Evening Edition, and our coverage continues online at kpbs.org. Turning to other news, hundreds of people are gathering in Dana Point tonight for the NRC meeting about the future of the San Onofre nuclear plant. KPBS North County Bureau Chief Allison St John is there and joins us now by phone. Allison, what's the mood?
Well, Eric, it's highly charged. The people are just filing into the meeting hall right now. And this is one step in the process of the NRC deciding if Edison can restart Unit 2 again at San Onofre at 70% power. That decision could come as soon as April. There are several elected officials here, including from the mayor's office, Bob Tillman's office, Dave Roberts from the San Diego County Board of Supervisors, and representatives from Del Mar and Solana Beach, who all want to say that they don't want to see this power plant started up again without a formal license amendment.
Now, one of the big issues that you have been covering is the document that was recently revealed by California Senator Barbara Boxer. It implies that the plant's operator, Southern California Edison, knew all about the possible problems with those steam generators even before they were installed, but they didn't take the recommended actions to fix it. Now, is that an issue that's going to be covered on tonight's agenda?
Well, officially, no. And what makes this allegation so serious is that it suggested that the company wanted to avoid a more stringent review, a license amendment. That's why they didn't do the fixes. So the head of the NRC, Allison has assured Boxer this is now under investigation. But since the NRC had this document already, it's not new information to them, and they're just proceeding along the lines of, that they had planned, and there's no discussion at tonight's meeting on the table. The company is saying, they have already figured out what's wrong. They've plugged some of the tubes, and that the supports are stronger in Unit 2 than Unit 3 where the leak occurred, so it would be okay to restart Unit 2 at lower power. Meanwhile, Boxer is saying that until this matter of hiding the defects before to avoid a license amendment is resolved, the NRC should not go ahead with this decision. So it remains to be seen how this plays out at tonight's meeting.
KPBS reporter Allison St John reporting live from Dana Point. A ratepayer advocate is asking state regulators to force Southern California Edison to refund money to replace the steam generators inside San Onofre's troubled nuclear reactors. Attorney Mike Aguirre is asking the Public Utilities Commission to force Edison to return more than $350 million to customers. He says the utility didn't properly report back to the PUC after the installation.
We have filed a motion with the Public Utilities Commission to request that Southern Cal Edison immediately stop collecting rates for the 4 steam generators that are defective, and that what's called an order of reparations be issued.
Aguirre says the utility improperly collected $115 million in 2011 and 2012, and he's asking Edison, Edison, by the way, is asking for another $130 million for this year. In an email exchange with Aguirre's office, the utility says it is on target to deliver the required post-installation report to the PUC next month. That is 2 years after the project was complete. A San Diego middle school teacher has been arrested for bringing a gun and a knife to school. 41-year-old Ned Walker arrested yesterday at Farb Middle School. He's been a teacher there since 2006. Walker's been placed on administrative leave while the case is being investigated. The parents of a Poway student are apologizing for his reported threat to kill 24 people at Twin Peaks Middle School. They say the 12-year-old had no intention of carrying out the threat. They say that he's dealing with emotional problems and coping as one parent battles cancer. The fight over San Diego's port appointments may not be over yet. KPBS reporter Katie Orr says 2 city councilmen are trying to revive that issue.
Councilman Kevin Faulkner and Scott Sherman want the San Diego City Council to take up the issue of port appointments again. San Diego has 3 seats on the Unified Port Commission, but just 1 is currently filled. Mayor Bob Filner recently vetoed 2 appointments made to fill the other seats, and the council failed to override that veto. Filner wants to create a definite policy for making appointments, and he wants to wait until the District 4 council seat vacancy is filled. But Faulkner says San Diego will be left out of important discussions if it waits.
While the City Council is talking about a plan for selecting Port Commission nominees, the actual Port Commission is discussing the Port's master plan this afternoon, the blueprint for our waterfront. And that's just the beginning.
Faulkner says the port will be considering its budget and the convention center expansion, among other issues, in the coming months. A city council committee will consider guidelines for port appointments in a few weeks. Katie Orr, KPBS News.
In just under an hour, President Barack Obama is scheduled to deliver his State of the Union address, and he's expected to announce that 34,000 U.S. troops will come home from Afghanistan within a year. That's about half of the forces currently serving you there. We'll bring you the president's address in its entirety and the Republican response, all starting at 6 p.m. A Camp Pendleton Marine will attend the speech as a guest of First Lady Michelle Obama. Sergeant Sheena Adams is credited with re-engineering the instruction program for female engagement teams. Those teams handled contact with Afghan women. Just how safe are you when you ride the trolley or train in San Diego County? It's a question the KPBS iNewsSource Investigations Desk is asking in this next report. Joanne Ferrian tells us more about the security breach and what's at stake.
If you've ever used any of San Diego's public transportation, you probably know about the Trolley Cops. Those are the armed officers who patrol the stations, trains, and tracks between the Mexican border and Oceanside. But what you may not know, and what the KPBS and iNewsSource Investigations Desk has uncovered, is how unprepared they are to protect the millions of commuters every year. iNewsSource reporter Brad Racino has more.
Every year, millions of people ride San Diego's trains and trolleys. This train's one of a fleet that travels north, south, east, and west throughout the county. This trolley is one of more than 100 that shuttle people between downtown San Diego and the Mexican border. These transit cops aren't actually cops. They're private security guards, two of many who are responsible for keeping the millions of passengers safe. But do these guys, with badges, guns, handcuffs, and pepper spray, really know what they're doing?
If we had a terrorist act, I would say the average TSS officer would have not a clue what to do. You're basically on your own.
How did it come to be that San Diego, the southernmost section of the second busiest rail corridor in the country, relies on private security guards for its front line of defense? Let's go back 30 years. Two government agencies, the Metropolitan Transit System and the North County Transit District, provide public transportation over thousands of square miles throughout the county. Instead of hiring the sheriff's department or the police department, like almost every other local metro system in the country does, they decided to hire private security guards. And they pay the company,
Universal Protection Service,
a lot of money to do that. More than $9 million a year. That money comes from ticket sales and taxpayer dollars. Here are some of the things the officers are supposed to do. Act as primary responders to terrorist threats and incidents. Perform first aid, maintain order, and assist rescue operations at the scenes of accidents and train or bus disasters. Maintain CPR and first aid certification. But according to some of the officers themselves, most don't know how to do any of it.
How we get some of these trainees better training, that probably wouldn't happen.
James Mars, who's been with the company for 5 years, was punched in the face at a busy downtown rail station last November. He was trying to get control of a situation between his trainee and a few angry men. He's one of a host of officers who, over the last few years, have been shot, beaten, and held hostage at gunpoint while on the job. The reason?
The training for this job initially was a, "Hi, how are you? And this is the facility."
In December, a group of them decided to speak out.
There's no formalized, structured training for us to deal with.
In fairness, these officers aren't the only ones who would respond to an emergency along the lines. 2 sheriff's deputies are under contract to patrol North County's jurisdiction, and city police would respond to any trolley emergency. But these officers are routinely called to assist the sheriff's department during searches. They're expected to arrest and detain and patrol dangerous homeless camps alone and at night with little communication or proper equipment. They're almost always the first on scene at any passenger rail incident between Mexico's border and the southern edge of Orange County, and those accidents happen a lot. There were 79 train-related fatalities in California in 2011. So it all begs the question, just how safe are you riding the rails in San Diego? This is exactly the kind of scene transit agencies never want to see happen, but the kind of situation they have to prepare for. That's why last December, firefighters, EMT workers, and law enforcement agencies were all invited to this training exercise at Camp Pendleton. The transit officers worry about this kind of disaster too, but they were never invited. When we contacted the North County Transit District to ask why, they left this message.
They are not allowed to be on the base in uniform.
Uniform or not, the officers say, they're always left out.
Again, I've been here for a little over 4 years, and we've never been on a drill, ever.
The officers say they're unprepared for any collision, derailment, or fatality scene. And these officers are not your standard rent-a-cops. Many come from the military, police, or private security fields. But according to them, little of their past applies to San Diego's relatively unique transit setting. Mo Han was a San Diego cop for 27 years.
As a police officer, if I went to a train crash, I would have no clue how to open doors, windows, escape routes.
This is a different kind of work.
Are the trolleys gas-fueled? Are they electric? Is power going through the tracks? What if someone falls on the tracks? These are the things that we should know. I haven't seen any of this type of training.
Have any of you received anything like that?
No.
But there's an even bigger security breach these guys are worried about. Terrorism.
I know that looking around the world at the attacks that have happened in recent years, and the majority of the attacks have occurred at transit-focused areas. So transit is definitely a target.
That's Lieutenant Kevin Franklin, who's in charge of security for one of the state's largest transit police forces, the BART Police.
And we've even seen domestic plots that have been disrupted that have focused on transit.
Franklin isn't the only one concerned. Congressional reports, government committees, security professionals, and even North County Transit District itself have raised concerns about terrorism. But San Diego's transit cops receive no counterterrorism training.
This is a homeland security issue that's been going on way too long, been ignored. It's something that I'm afraid that the public doesn't know and needs to know.
We tried several times to interview officials from both transit districts, but they would only respond to emails. Despite what the contracts say and what the officers told us, Metropolitan Transit System wrote, "The primary responsibility of these officers, specifically in response to acts of terrorism and first aid, is to observe and report." Both districts said if an emergency were to happen, they'd rely on law enforcement and EMT workers, not the officers. For its part, Universal Protection Service wouldn't answer any of our phone calls, return any messages, or respond to any emails. The officers who spoke to us did so knowing they could lose their jobs, but saying nothing would be an even greater risk.
We have our morals and, more importantly, our ethics. We have to act out on this. The retribution, it could be inevitable. Don't know. It depends on how the companies view this, how the public views this, if at all. But we're here just the same.
And iNews source reporter Brad Racino joins me now. Brad, your story talks a lot about what these officers are not trained to do. Do they get any kind of training when they're hired?
They get some very basic training that's required by the state. The Bureau of Security Investigative Services requires them to have a basic guard card, and some of them have some firearms training, and a few have CPR and first aid training, but other than that, that's it.
Now, I know you tried speaking to the security company, Universal, that basically hires these men and women, but were you able to get more of a response from the actual transit agencies?
No, they pretty much shut us out. We had to submit everything by email, all of our questions. They were kind of vaguely answered by the Metropolitan Transit System, and NCTD left us a voicemail, which was unfinished. So.
But aren't these public agencies?
They are. They're funded by taxpayers and ticket sales, so yes.
And who are they accountable to?
They're accountable to their board of directors, and the board usually consists of people from city councils for all the cities that make up that transit district.
So you spoke with some of them, didn't you?
I did. I spoke with Oceanside Mayor Jim Wood, and I also spoke with Todd Gloria from MTS.
So I know Todd Gloria gave you a bit more of a response. What did he have to say? Is he worried about this?
He seemed very concerned. He said this was never brought to his attention before. He hasn't been there for that long, but he said he hadn't heard about this, and that seemed to be the common theme.
So we've got a part of his statement up there. Todd Gloria went on to say if additional training is warranted to ensure these responders can adequately do their job for which they are contracted, the board should be aware. And he goes on to also say, I have discussed my concerns with MTS leadership and will follow up. Our transit system must be efficient, but it also must be safe for passengers and for the people who are expected to protect it. So, Brad, what can we expect with regard to a follow?
Right now we're looking at how much funding these guys could get if they wanted to have a police force, and also holding some people accountable to see what's going on and what can change.
I know you've got a lot more on the website. You've got a timeline, you've got a lot more information. You even have links to these contracts. I urge people to go to kpbs.org, and they can also go to your website as well.
Yes, inewssource.org.
Great. Brad Racino, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Pope Benedict XVI is the first pope to step down in 6 centuries, and observers are talking about how the Catholic Church will move on after he retires at the end of the month. KPBS's Amitha Sharma has details.
Pope Benedict's surprise announcement that he is stepping down leaves a church that is weakened by sexual abuse scandals and struggling with how to widen its appeal in a world that is becoming more secular. So what does the future hold for the world's 1 billion Catholics, including 1 million in San Diego and Imperial counties? Joining me to provide some answers are Sandy Dolby, former UT San Diego religion reporter, and Jimmy Aiken of the lay group Catholic Answers. Sandy, Vatican observers say the Pope's exit once again renews this struggle between conservatives within the church and those who want to liberalize. What are the core issues that they disagree on?
They disagree on the role of women priests. They disagree on celibacy. Should priests be allowed to marry? Those are the really hot potato questions. The other side, the smaller potato, are the liberalization of the use of condoms to stop the spread of AIDS, birth control, those kinds of what you might want to call social cultural issues. I'm going to take you all the way back to the book of Isaiah in the Bible, where God says, "My ways are not your ways." And that's how the Catholic Church feels. Its ways isn't always the way of the popular opinion. So the ideas of women becoming priests, men being able to marry in the priesthood, probably not going to happen in our lifetimes. The others, maybe.
Jimmy, what do you think some of the issues are?
Well, I think that Sandy has ably described some of the principal issues that are discussed these days. I also think your allusion to the book of Isaiah is very good. It's true that God's ways are not always our ways, but God's ways for mankind are designed to help bring us happiness. And people sometimes think of God's law as if it's a restriction on human freedom, but really what it is it's guidance to help liberate us so that we can find fulfillment. And that's what the church is really concerned about. It's true that we don't always want to do what we should, but it's the church's job to call us to that freedom of doing what will ultimately make us happy and what will ultimately help us find fulfillment.
And who do you want to see win this struggle between the liberals and the conservatives? What traits do you want the new Pope to have?
I don't know that there's so much a struggle between liberals and conservatives to the extent that those terms even apply. I don't think they apply very much to the College of Cardinals. The current cardinals were all selected by either John Paul II or Benedict XVI. They reflect the historic Catholic viewpoint, and so I don't think that there's a struggle so much. There's a tendency to read things in terms of power politics, when really the cardinals are going to be seeking guidance from God, guidance from the Holy Spirit, in terms of who can best lead the church. I think one of the things they'll be very concerned about is the ability to evangelize, the ability to bring God's message to the world. And I think that's one of the key functions of the office of the Pope, and I know that will be very much on their hearts.
Sandy, 42% of the world's Catholics come from Latin America, 15% from Africa, and 25% from Europe. In San Diego County alone, we have a sizable number of Latinos. I think almost half of the masses are conducted in Spanish. What are the chances that we're going to see a new Pope be from Latin America?
The chances are very real, very real. Yes, the Vatican is the epicenter of the Catholic Church, but right now the passion of the Catholic Church is in Latin America and Africa. And so they're on the short list that I've been seeing, and it's not like a candidacy like the United States president, but on the short list that people have put together, there are cardinals from Brazil, cardinals from Honduras, cardinals from Ghana, that they say have a very real chance of being elected.
Jimmy, as you know, there have been sexual abuse scandals plaguing the church in Los Angeles, Orange, and San Diego counties. How big of an issue is this going to be for the incoming Pope?
Well, it's hard to say. Most of the cases, as you know, date back some decades, and many of them have already been addressed. There's always a question, what else is out there that hasn't come to light yet? So the issue could come back, but I'm sure that the new Pope will take very much the same line as Pope Benedict, saying this cannot be tolerated. We have to deal with this.
And Sandy, very quickly, how interested is the Catholic Church in bringing back the worshipers who left because of the sexual abuse scandal?
That's a huge, huge issue, because the best description I've seen is that they're looking for a missionary in chief. They're looking for someone to go out and make disciples, to renew the vigor, to bring young Catholics back to to the worship areas. Give it a new energy, give it a new life. John Paul II in Denver at World Youth Day, 100,000 young people yelled, "We love you, JP2," and he said back, "JP2 loves you too."
And we're going to have to end it there. Sandy, Jimmy, thank you so much for speaking to us today.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
Recapping tonight's top story, police have surrounded a burning cabin in the San Bernardino Mountains. They believe that accused killer Christopher Dorner is inside. Now, this afternoon, officers were in a gun battle with a man matching Dorner's description. One sheriff's deputy was killed in that gunfight. Police say that Dorner wrote a manifesto promising to target any officers who got in the way of his vendetta against the Los Angeles Police Department, which had fired him. At this moment, it's not known whether anyone is in that burning cabin. Reports from Los Angeles television stations say that gunfire was heard inside. We will keep this story updated on kpbs.org. We also want to remind you that coverage of tonight's State of the Union address begins at 6 p.m. here at KPBS. That special PBS NewsHour coverage will preempt KPBS's Evening Edition program at 6:30. Thank you for joining us, and have a good evening.